Welcome back to part 2 of the DBS Steampunk Daze mini album tutorial. We are now on the inside of our book. We're going to start with page 1. So the first thing that we're going to do is grab this sheet out of our paper collection. On the back it looks like this. We're going to measure over 6 inches and cut that. This side's going to go into reserves for the moment. Now we're going to measure down, or measure over actually, 8 inches and cut it. Okay, grab one of these out of your reserves. This should be about, I think, 4 inches wide. And it is, and it's by 8.5 inches long. We're going to grab our Spellbinders die. It is this one, the S5201. And I am using this one for the top. And I am going to center this and try to keep it even between here and here. Every time we use one of these dies that have some sort of curve or something, we're going to try and keep it even throughout the tutorial. And then I am using this plate here. Excuse my tape. It's to help keep me straight. And we're just going to grab that and place it on our die cutter and run that through. In your reserves, you should have this piece here on the back. It has that. We're going to go ahead and cut that white off. We are going to ink around the edges. And what we're planning on doing here is we are just going, and we're going to cut this down too. We're just going to maneuver this right on over just like this. And we're going to get it centered, and we're going to trim this down in just a moment. And I have this coming up right to the edge here on either side, and there is a little bit of black of the curve showing here. So let's go ahead. The first thing we want to do is ink around the edges, and then we're going to trim this down, and I'll show you. So after trimming it, you will look like this, and you may have like what I have here where it looks broken up. That's where your trimmings from the side come in handy, and all we're going to do is just snip off a piece there. We're going to apply glue, a little bit of glue, and we're just going to flip that around so that the edge is no longer broken up, and it will be like that. So now, as you can see, it's straight across. If you have the same thing down here, snip off a piece. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to trim this off, and we are going to leave about a 1/16 inch of black showing. So let's do that. This is where you should be. And this is just going to get placed right like this. Now, you can use your score tape along here, and then since there's a little bit of black over here, you can put your glue on the sides. I'm going to use the score tape. You can use this glue. You just want to make sure that you press down and hold it so that it will hold down when you do your glue. And again, you don't need a whole lot of glue. Sometimes I pour it on. Anyway, you're just going to stick this and just right on the side here. It's not going to interfere with anything else on the page, so just kind of eyeball it. And just make sure if you use glue up here and there that it's down. Okay, let's work on the fold out. Grab a piece of cardstock, and we are going to measure over 6.5 inches and cut it. Okay, now we're going to measure over 6.25 inches and cut it. Place your cardstock on your scoring board where it's 6.25 inches across the board. At 5 inches, we're going to score it, and at 5.25 inches, we're going to score it. And we're going to go ahead and fold on those. Okay, set this off to the side. Grab this out of your reserves. Looks like this. looking at it like this, we're going to measure over 6 3/8 of an inch and cut it. So we should be 6 3/8 this way. We're going to measure over and trim to make this 6 inches. And I believe this is just about 6 inches. Our final piece will be 6 inches wide by 6 3/8. Now grab a piece of cardstock and cut a piece that is 6 inches wide by 6 3/4 inches long. Now on this, we're going to make sure that it's a sturdy cutout, or the cutout is sturdy and there's no collapsing with the dimensional cutout in the middle. So all we're going to do is we are going to glue this piece down and mount it right on this. So let's do that. Now one thing when you're applying glue on this, you're going to want to make sure that you go get some lines going this way and that way, because when we start cutting with our craft knife into this, you don't want anywhere to where when we are cutting that it's going to not have any glue under there. So remember our beginning template. This is a 3.5, I think, by 4.5. I wrote template on mine. This is the same thing we used on the cover, and we're going to use that once again. So locate that, let's let our glue dry, and then we're going to grab our scoreboard. And I think my glue is dried. Okay, go ahead and flip this over. We are 6 inches across. We are going to score at 1/2 inch. Now because this is, before you start scoring, because this is super thick right now, my paper is premium. Those of you that have purchased it in the past will know it's pretty thick stuff. And then along with the cardstock, it's even thicker. So you'll want to put a little pressure down when scoring. We're going to score at 1/2 inch on one side. And we're also going to do it at 3/8. I've got something stuck on there. 3/8. We're just going to flip this right around and we're going to do the same thing. 1/2 inch on this side. And 3/8. Okay. Now we're going to turn it. So we got our lines this way. Now we want to score this way. And we're going to go 1/2 inch. And we're also going to go 3/8. Okay, so you can see your score marks. What we're going to do is we're going to fold on it, and you will need this, and it is a little difficult, but use the lines here to help keep your folds straight. So let's go ahead and do that, and then we'll open it back up once we can see where our score marks are, and we will go ahead and cut out our center. Okay, open it all up. You'll be able to see where your creases are on each side, as well as the bottom. What you're going to want to do is, from your crease on the side, if you were to tuck that in really quick and lay that down, measure in 10/16 of an inch and make a pencil mark. Now measure down from the top 5/8 of an inch and make a pencil mark. Now all we have to do is put this on there, just like so, making sure we're straight, and again, use those lines to help you. And we're just going to trace around this. Okay, once we got that there, and we can erase our marks here, we need our craft knife. And I lost mine again. Seriously. Wow. There it is. All we're going to do is cut this out using our craft knife. Okay? And we will set this off to the side. let's flip this over. Now what we are going to want to do is this little notch over here, we need to snip that out. And all I'm going to do is go right up on the inside score mark, as you can see. And then I'm going to cut it at the second up score line there. So you're just going to have a chunk out just like that. Perfect. Let's grab a little score tape. And all we're going to do is put, and I'm using the 1/4 inch, is just right here at the side, on each side. Whoops. I need to turn that off. There we go. And the easiest way to do this is just to make sure that you've got your edge there nice. Double check over here, make sure. And we're just going to do this one side at a time, bringing it up and pressing. Take this side off, bring it up. So that's what you should have. In your reserves, you will find this piece. Let's go ahead and trim off the white. Okay, grab this piece, and all we're going to do is lay this down across like this. We are going to take our pencil and mark it so that it's going to line up the same as between these points. And now we're just going to trim right on down. And I'm going to be brave, like so. Then we're going to go ahead and ink around those edges. Once you've inked around the edges, place your piece down, and you're going to have a little bit of black on the right side and the left side. You'll have your inner score mark, and then what you're going to do is just bring that on up. You'll have about a 1/16 of an inch of black on the top. And before you do any gluing, let's make sure that we fit. If you were to place this down, what we're looking for is no overhang of the paper that we just trimmed up. If you need to trim a little bit more, go on ahead. But I'm looking fairly decent there. And don't worry about this because we have another piece. So let's go ahead and glue this piece down first. And remember, our flaps are off to the left. You can now tuck those all underneath if it helps you better. And I'm just going to center that right like that. Okay, let's get our piece that's going to sit here before we place this over. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and cut this trim piece off, and we'll set that to the side. And then we're just going to cut to get this one out. Now, before we glue this piece down, we're going to make sure that this is going to fit nicely. And all you're going to do is place that down. Leave some black down here to start, and you'll be even from side to side. And what we're looking to do is find where this fits the best. And if I was just to lay that down and eyeball it and place this down all the way to the bottom of the black, and then what you can do is push it over where you need it to get it centered right. And mine looks good there, so I'm just going to hold that down, and I'm just going to make a little mark here so I know how far I'm supposed to be, as you can see. Now all I have to do is apply glue to this and line that up. That is the easiest way. Get that right. So let's see if I did right by that. If I was to place this back down, yep, that looks pretty good to me. So for this part, we do need score tape. And we are going to put score tape I'm using the 1/4 inch. You can use the 1/2 inch or whatever you're using. But I'm just going to get that right on the edge of this. And I'm just going to go all the way around, making sure that none of the score tape goes over the edge. And once I get this down, I'm going to do another to go around. So I'll have 2 layers going around that. Before you remove your score tape, let's take a look to make sure we don't have any overhang of score tape. Okay, once we have that, make sure your score tape is down, and let's remove our backing. Okay, looking good this way. So I am going to fold this out so that it lays more flat. And I am just going to try and get this centered correctly. And then I'm going to press down. And if I need to get my finger in there, this is sturdy enough, it isn't gonna. And down here. So this is what we have so far. In your reserves, you will have this. Let's go ahead and cut out the storefront. Now, I trimmed all the white off from around here. The first thing I'm going to do is cut right below this. Okay, so this is what you have. Set this aside. The next thing that I want to do is trim right here all the way down. Stick this in reserves. Okay, the next thing that we need to do is cut right underneath this all the way down. Okay, on this, what we're going to do is just on the left side of the T, you're going to make a little mark with your pencil. And just on the right side of the P, you're going to do the same thing. Let's go ahead and trim. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and cut underneath here to give it a little shape. So this is what I got. I've got the curve going under here. I inked around the edges. Now when we place this, all we need is where the line here meets the top edge of the stripe paper. So this is going to actually lay up. We're just going to glue that down. So I'm just going to flip this over. And the only place that needs to have glue is right underneath the steampunk shop. So I'm just going to kind of go like this. And I'm going to center that. Press that down, like so. Make sure I'm even. And there you have it. And I think I'm a little crooked there. There we go. Okay, for this piece, let's go ahead and start. And all we're going to do is cut up at that angle right here. Place this like this so that the edge comes just over to the side, and I'm going to show you. You see where it's sometimes easier than all these measurements, especially on something like this. You see where we have the corner down here? We're just going to move that over until we cover it. Then what we're going to do is just clip off. So on mine, I'm actually clipping off one piece and then the rest. And I'm going to go ahead and go around the curves. I'm going to ink around the edges. And this is just going to place right like that. So we'll glue that down. This is what you should have. So before we do anything else, we're just going to flip that right on over and we're going to work on the inside. In your paper pack, you will find this. Let's just go ahead and turn it upside down and then measure over 4 3/4 of an inch and cut that. All right, flip that over. That goes in reserves. Measure over 6 3/8 of an inch and cut it. Okay, this goes in reserves. Flip this over. Check to see if you fit. If you need to trim, trim, but you should be able to have black at the top, the bottom, the side if you were to place this down and center it, and enough room where your inner score mark is. So let's work with that. Set that off to the side. Okay, in your reserves you will have this piece. We just cut on it to get our stuff out. And we are just going to, this first brown line right here, we're just going to cut on the right hand side of that. And then over here on this brown line, we're just going to cut right to the left of that and just trim those down. In your reserves, find a piece of scrap cardstock. It's going to be about 8.5 inches wide. And this is just about 3 inches here, or 3 inches. That will work. It's going to be plenty. We do have to trim it down. All we are going to do is apply glue to this. We are going to mount this, leaving just about a 1/16 of black showing. Get that on there even. And now all we have to do is trim off that bottom excess. Grab your score tape and place it at the bottom of this panel. And then to mount this, all we are going to do is bring this all the way down, like so, where you have your flaps. And then we're just going to tuck our flaps around the back, like this. And you can use your glue, or if you have a hot glue gun, you can quickly do a quick tack job, just like that. Let's grab this, let's apply glue to the back of this, and let's mount that, being careful we do not get on our inner score mark. I've got mine down. Now what I'm going to do is, as you can see, we have the inner score and then we have an outer score. If you pinch it on the outer score, it'll be easiest. And then all we're going to do is just slide it where the tabs are around the back. And I'm showing just a little bit of green here and here. It doesn't matter exactly, but I'm going to pinch it to hold it in place. And then I'm going to quickly tack these down. Now, if you feel your paper sliding when you turn it over, you will want to start over and get it there. But that's what you should be looking like now, once it's tacked down. Let's get our owl. Now, I'm using the middle owl, kind of a medium size, and he's going to go right like that. I am going to use a little bit of my teal, and this is completely optional, but all I'm going to do is just hit his wings right here to give it some teal color. And then I'm just going to hit the tips, going back around here, and then down here. I'm going to do the same. Okay. What we want to do is place him right like this. And so I am going to use a glue, and I am just going to put the glue right here on the corner. And I'm going to bring it up just so that the tail is slightly under my paper, not by far, because we do have to mount this, and you're going to make sure he's over enough to clear the right hand side with ease. So this is how I have mine. And you can maneuver him up a little bit if you want. The main thing is we just don't want his wing getting caught in the folds. So I do have to let this dry for a moment. And then what we're going to do is flip it on over and get our score tape on. But we're not going to mount this in our book quite yet. We're going to finish up page 2 and then we're going to mount them at the same time. Page 2 will mount first. It will help us line up our first inner page so that it looks even with each other. I think mine's pretty dry now. We're going to go ahead, and if yours is not, you can use a clip, or actually these type of clips work really good. And it's not going to hurt anything because this is so strong and thick. You can just snap it down and it should bounce right back up. Let's flip this over, and we are going to put our score tape around the outside, making sure that it doesn't go over, all the way around. The only thing else we have to do is put one down the middle, and we can put 2 shorter ones on the side. And then we're going to set this off to the side and move on to page 2. Page 2. In your reserves, you will find this. Now on this one, we're going to measure over, and it's approximately 7 inches. It will cut it right above his hat. Go ahead and do that. In your reserves, find a piece of cardstock. What we're going to do is just measure over 6 inches and cut it. Okay, grab your score tape, and this is approximately, as long as you've got at least a couple inches this way, you're fine. This one's about almost 3 inches there. All we're going to do is we need to add on to our paper to make it 8 inches. So this is the easiest way that I know how, is to just lay a piece of score tape across the top. Let's remove the score tape. And keeping it as even as we can, I usually just like that. Now we can put it on our paper cutter, measure over 8 inches, and cut that. This is what you should have. Grab this. This was the bottom piece to this. And all we're going to do is right between the two of them, we're going to round this around her and just cut. Now you can, it doesn't have to be exactly what I'm doing, but all we're trying to do is give it a little shape. And then we're just going to go just like that. Let's grab a sheet of black cardstock. I grabbed a piece. What we're going to do is we are going to just glue this right on down to our cardstock. Whoops. We are going to place it all the way down, and we're going to make sure that we have black on each side. So just try to get that centered there. Whoops. Even. Now all we're going to do is take our scissors, and we're going to cut straight in, leave about a 1/16 of black showing all the way around. When you get here, you're going to go straight out. So I'll show you what this should look like. Yours should look like this. So when you are done cutting yours out, I'm going to leave that there so you can see while I do this. We're just going to place a piece of score tape at the bottom of our page, and we're going to make a pocket. Bringing this down even on both sides, making sure we press down that score tape really good. Now all we have to do is wrap the edges around the back, flip it over, and we're going to tack that down. And I'm going to use my hot glue because it's very quick for me. And this is what you should have. We're going to need a piece of cardstock. I am going to use this. The first thing I'm going to do is cut this straight on down. Now that I've trimmed off that extra, all I'm going to do is measure over 5 inches and cut that. Once you have that cut, we're going to measure over 6.5 inches and cut it. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of room. We can trim this down. Let's grab our scoreboard. Now measure over 4 3/8. I do need to use my ruler to do that because I don't have the smaller slots in between. 1, 2, 4 3/8. And then I'm going to make a mark at 4 1/2. We're going to score on both of those. And we're going to fold. Okay, you can open this back now. I am using that same die I used before, both of these. Now the trick to this is lay out all your flaps. Your flaps should be off to the right hand side. We are going to place this just like that. Now remember, you're going to place this center between this edge and your first score mark, or your inner score mark, so that it stays even. And then all we're going to do is run that through the die cutter. This is what you should have. Don't worry about this for now. Over here we are going to cut a piece of cardstock. And we are going to stick that, oops, right behind here, and then I'll clean up any glue that shows through. Just like that. Let's get our piece. In your reserves, you will have this piece on the back. Is that all we're going to do is from down here is we're going to cut right on the inside of the brown frame here. We're just going to cut right on up and right underneath this over to get this piece out. Put this back in your reserves. Now I am using this one. It's just a straight across, and all I'm going to do is center this right like this and run it through my die cutter. The piece that comes off at the top, you will want to save that. Remember how I said to save your scraps? You will have one of these too. And all we are going to do is just glue these together. So let's do that and set that off to the side for now. Let's work with this. So grab this and just tuck in all of your flaps back underneath. You're going to want to place this, and don't worry about having black, or if maybe you won't have as much black as me. It doesn't matter at this point. All we're going to do is take our pencil, mark at the edge where it would line up with the edge of our black paper. Now let's trim that. Place this down, and for me, I'm fitting pretty good. If you need to trim up on the bottom of this a little bit, go ahead. At this point, I can go ahead and just glue this down. Just like that. Okay, for this, snip off any excess there. And what you can do is now snip off over here. And with this, all we're going to do is just put a very thin line of glue at the bottom and the sides. And we're going to mount that. Okay. Grab some of your Toffee Crunch, that's the light brown, and just kind of hit it around there. Let's go to this. In your reserves, find a trimming, a thin trimming piece, And this is just going to lay right like this. And we are going to cut that to fit. And we are going to glue this down if you need it. If you don't need it, leave it alone. That's what you should have. Now in your reserves you will find this sheet right like this. All we're going to do is flip this on over, flip your thing over, and just measure how much you're going to need. I'm putting mine up here, and sometimes what I like to do is give myself a little extra, make a mark with my pencil, then I'm going to trim this on across. Okay, so I have this here and I left a little bit extra at the top. Now all I'm going to do is just put this right on in like this to see how much I need. Make a mark, trim it. Now we want this to line up. So what we do on something like this is open it all up with your flaps. Bring your paper where it should be hitting. And remember, you want to be able to clear that inner score mark here and still have a little bit left of black showing on the side. But to get the exact curve to line up, if you were to pull your sheet up like that, you will see a little bit of black here still. Now you just bring this down and you will see where this needs to be. Once you have it there, pinch it and run that through your die cutter. And you should have a nice fit. So all we're going to do with this now is make sure it's going to fit right before we glue this down. Mine fits perfect. I can now glue this down. Once you've got it there, grab your sheet. Now we're just going to put this so that the flaps are around the back. I'm going to pinch it to hold it. Actually, we are going to go down all the way to the bottom. That'll make it even easier. I'm going to pinch it to hold it where it needs to be. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of glue. Tack that down. For this, I'm just going to add a little glue to that and tack that down as well. In your reserves, you will find this. Let's cut this out. You'll want to ink around the edges of that. You're also going to want to get this one out. So let's do that and ink around the edges of that too. Okay, I've got mine done. All I'm gonna do here is just put a little bit of, whoops, I got my pen in there. I'm just gonna put a little bit of glue right like that. I'm just gonna layer that right on over. And now, add some glue down here. Now, one thing you may want to do, and I'm going to use some scrap paper here, is slip something back in there behind so that in case your glue squirts out, it's not going to do anything. So, and all I'm going to do is just press that down just like that. And I'm going to move that slip back in there, make sure there's no glue, which there isn't. I'm safe. Okay, we're ready to mount these. This one should already have score tape. Score tape is going to go around the outside, one down the middle, two short ones on either side of that. And we're going to mount page 2 together first. So let's get our score tape going. Okay, now before I mount this and take my score tape off, I want to show you proper placement. It is hard for me, because of the black, to tell where the edges are. And this is something I recommend you do too, so you can see better. As I'm just grabbing the cover off this paper collection, I'm going to slide it right on there. Now I can see where the edge of my paper is. Now when I remove this, I am going to place this so that I am going to have at least 1/8 of an inch of black here in from the hinge mark, and it's just centered, so that should give you about 1/8 of an inch here, 1/8 here, and 1/8 here. So I'm going to do this really quick. So pretty much you're just centering it, but sometimes it's easier to look first to make sure you are centered, and then remove your score tape. So hopefully my head will not get into the video. And I'm just going to place that now. And you'll want to open that up and push it all down. Okay, now what we can do is the cover of our chipboard, of course, is larger than the inner pages. So what we're going to do is center this. However, we want to make sure that we are even with this paper going across, so that you're not down too far like this. That'd look pretty funny, or too far up. So I'm going to remove my score tape. So pretty much I'm looking from side to side, but I'm also looking right here to try and get this as even as I can. And straight. Once you have it, just open that up, and you should be on there. Okay, let's move on to page 3. We're on page 3, and let's pull this out of our paper pack, but our first cut is not going to be at 6 inches. What we're going to do is we're going to turn this, and we are going to measure over 8 inches, and we're going to cut that. Okay, we're going to make sure that we do not cut into this, so I'm going to put this off to the side. We will be needing this. Now we can measure over 6 inches and cut it, and then this side will go in reserves, and we'll work with this. Grab a piece of cardstock, and we're just going to measure over 6 inches and cut that. The smaller piece goes in reserves. Now we're going to need our brackets here, and I'm using this one, and we're 8.5 inches wide, and I am just going to place this down, centering it so I have flaps on either side, and I'm going to run that through the die cutter. This is what you should have, and all I'm going to do here is come into this from the side to release that top piece, like so. Grab this piece from your paper pack. We're just going to flip that right on over. Let's measure over 6 inches and cut that. Alrighty, put this one off in reserves. Okay, let's measure over 5.5 inches and cut that. Go ahead and put your paper, the leftovers in reserves, so we can flip that over now. We want to look at it with the stripes up and down. I am using this bracket, and the easiest way to do this is to lay down you want to make sure that you get the correct curvature here. I'm just going to lay this down from side to side, and you can see on the die that left an imprint, and I'm just going to bring that right up. I'm going to place my bracket so that it looks like I'm going to hit in the middle. And now all I'm going to do, now that I know where it needs to be, and it is going to be centered anyway because these are 6 inches, but just in case you got off, this is a good way to double check yourself. Now I'm going to run that through the die cutter. Now remember, keep all scrap pieces until the end of the tutorial. Let's check ourselves, and I'm just going to bring that right on up there. And notice how we are longer than the black. This is where trimming comes in. Just make a mark with your pencil. Now let's trim it. So, I'm going to apply my glue. Okay, let's grab our score tape. and we're going to place it at the bottom of this page. And we're just going to mount this. And tack it down. Okay, now in order for us to complete this page 3 and 4, we have to complete the pockets first. So set this off to the side, and we're just going to measure on over 8 inches and cut it. Okay, now remember, we also have one of these already pre-cut in our reserves, but we're going to go with this, what I just said to do, because we are 6 inches across. Let's grab our black cardstock. We're going to do the same exact thing we did for the other page. Measure over 6 inches and cut it. Okay, we are 8.5 inches across. The same dies that you used on the other page, we're going to do the same thing. All we're going to do is place it up here and run it through our die cutter. Let's snip in from the side. Your reserves, grab this, measure over 5.5 inches and cut it. We're going to do the same thing we did on the other page here. Putting our paper up, making sure that it is in between the scores on the side where we'll be wrapping. And I'm just going to move my paper up and make sure that I get this exactly where it's supposed to be in the middle, where that hump is. Okay, let's run this through our die cutter. I'm going to place this right up underneath here. Down here with my pencil, make a mark, and we're going to trim that. Now let's apply our glue. Let's grab our score tape, place it at the bottom, and we're going to mount our pocket. And tack around the back. Let's set these off to the side, and I'm going to bring that forward. Grab a fresh piece of cardstock. We are 8.5 inches wide. What you're going to want to do is measure on over 4.25 inches, which is exactly half, and cut that. Okay. What we're next going to do is we are going to measure over 10 inches and cut. And you will stick this off to the side where it's handy. Okay. On one of these, what you're going to do, this is 11 inches wide, you're going to take your pencil and mark, put a line at 2.5 inches, and I'm also going to do it down here so I can keep this pretty straight. And you're going to do 2.5 inches in from the side on each. And then we're going to, this is just so we stay semi-straight here, let's just draw a line. I think that's pretty straight. Okay, let's get into our regal borders and pockets. And the one we want is this one and this one. You are going to push this all the way to the top, and this you will want to keep centered. So wherever you put this, we know that 2.5 inches in is here and here. Mine is coming over the edges of that. So I need to make sure that I stay straight. So I am going to mark a pencil mark so that when I place this on the die cutter, it's going to be where the edges are in between. I'm a little farther over on this side. I'm going to draw a line on this too, and I'm going to show you why in a minute, why you want to do this. Just try to keep it semi-straight. Okay. So I know that line and that line. So the side of this is going to go here. This is going to come up just like this. And I am going to use some removable tape to keep this even and in its spot when I run this through the die cutter. Now, once I'm done running this through the die cutter, like this, then what I'm going to do is I am going to also do the same thing. So I know it's properly placed. It's going to go, the side is going to hit that outer line, and this side's going to hit that other line there, so that they are matched up even. So let's do that. This is what you should have. And all we're going to do is cut in from the side. Okay. You are going to, and it's easier if, oops, that didn't come out. It is easier if you just fold it over rather than try to put this on your scoreboard. We are doubling this up to make it thick, is what we're doing. If you are off, what you can do is just cut them right down the middle and be fine with it, okay? We're thickening it up, so all we need to do now is we are going to apply glue so that this sits flush together. Okay, let's grab this, and we are going to glue this down first. And you're just applying glue to the strip. And you're going to line it up with the top. I think I'm pretty even there. Let's go ahead and apply glue to this. Now when placing this, you are going to center it, and you're going to bring it up to where you just see a little bit of black showing up here. We can always trim this off. And making sure that you have the same amount on either side of those flaps. And I look like I'm pretty good here. And down here. Let's go ahead and trim off the excess. Before we go any further with this, let's mount our pages in the book, because we do need to do that first before we can do our pop out. So flip these over. Let's put score tape around the outside of each, one down the middle, two small on either sides. Okay, grab your scoring board, and it makes no difference all the way to the left or to the right. At this point, all we're looking for is the very middle of this tip. All you need to do is lightly do that, and we're going to score it all the way down. We are going to fold this in half. Once we do that, it'll be easier. And like I said, be very careful. So you have that. Now turn it over. What we are looking for is just on the right side where this corner edge of this die right here. And we're going to line that up. And we're going to score it on this side as best we can. And we're going to come over here and we're going to do the same thing. I found mine. It's about 3-inch mark. Okay. And we're just going to lightly fold that for now. Now this is what I want you to do, and this is why we mount these first. Is you're going to try to get this centered on your spine. Fold these back behind, okay? Once you have it, and it goes all the way down, once you have it, I want you to put pressure on the left side so it does not slide on you, okay? I want you to go ahead and close your page and let the right side slide where it needs to go. Okay, once you've got that there, pinch it. Let me make sure I got mine. Okay, and the left side, don't let it slip. So if you go like that, now you've got where this needs to be. And you can pull this side in more to get more of a dramatic lift. So if I moved mine in like right on this red line here, and I'm holding it so it doesn't go anywhere, I can then find where that's supposed to be. Now I know, and it's right here. I'm going to place a line with my pencil. Now, I'm going to try this again. I do know that it's this line, I think it is. Try it again. I'm going to bring it up to my line over here, and I believe I had my line right here, and I can make a mark with my pencil just in case. It's not going to hurt nothing there. Bring it on out. As you notice, your midpoint has now shifted to accommodate. And I'm going to move mine out to the next one. Mine pushed out, it's actually this line. So this is just a matter of getting yours to fit. Move this back out to my line over here, and according to this, my left edge should be here. So now I'm going to hold it tight. And it works. Again. And it works. Okay, so now that you know and you've made your mark, now you're going to flip this over and we're going to put our score tape. And you're definitely going to want to use score tape for this. And I'm going to put 2 rows of score tape on mine just to make sure I get it all covered. I'm just going to remove this one and then lay it over the other side. Oops. I'll remove that. Push this out of the way. I hope that made sense to you. I'll get that in a minute with my tool. And again, I am folding that in, getting on the edge. I'm going to remove this because I do have to overlap. I'm going to get right on the edge of that. Make sure this does not go anywhere once it's placed. Wish me luck. And again, I'm going to bring this all the way down to the bottom of my page, making sure it's straight. And then it's this line over here I need it. Alright, let's see. These should bend in and fold over. And it does. Oh, one more thing. When you close it, you're good. Now, one thing you do need to know now, when you are closing it like this, if it seems to curve, take it like this and just go like that. You will not have a problem doing that. Okay? It won't hurt nothing. And you may get a second crease. Well, that's absolutely fine because of what we're doing. And you should be able to open and close nicely. Perfect. Let's work on this. In your reserves, let's grab this out and let's go ahead and cut to get this panel out. Okay, we're going to go ahead and trim this all the way to the edge on each side. Grab a piece of cardstock, and I did trim all the way around on each of the edges so you can kind of see how I did this. Measure over 5 1/8 of an inch and cut it. Let's go ahead and check this to make sure. You should be able to fit this down and have a little bit of black showing on all three. And if that's the case, if you don't, if you're overhanging, you'll have to trim a little bit more to get what you want. Let's grab our scoreboard, and this is the easiest way, is just stick this on your scoreboard. Leave about, a 1/16 of an inch over here of black showing. And then just move it on over and score so you have black showing on here. Let's go ahead and fold this, making sure that it all lines up. And then we can trim off the excess. Okay, so the opening is on this side. Here's the seam. We're just going to glue that right on down. In your reserves, let's go ahead and cut out life's little moments make big memories. Okay, let's go ahead and ink around our edges. I am going to use Coffee Crunch, and we're also going to ink around the edges of that. Okay, I got mine all inked up. Now, remember I said, don't worry about the massive creases or whatever you see here. That you're looking for is to make sure you can close this way. Make sure you can close this way and make sure it closes like this. And later when we do one more of these, we're going to do the right scoring. I want you to get familiar with understanding that just one crease down isn't going to necessarily, you have to have several creases in order to get this to close right on certain types. So when we go to do our next one, we'll be able to have exact creases. You won't have to, you will still have to make sure that we're folding right, but at least you can see, you can feel, and you understand the mechanism of what has to happen. Okay, I have a piece of cardstock, and it is about 1.5 inches wide by 2 inches, so cut a piece like that, and I am 2 inches wide this way, and we're just going to fold that in half, just like so. We are going to use score tape for this, and you will find your left hand side crease here. And if I can find my score tape, okay. The fold is facing to the right. It's open on the left. So what we're going to do is get the score tape back behind here. Because how this is going to work is just like this. The crease is up to the crease on here. So it's going to look like this if you were to fold it this way. So let's get our score tape. And we're just going to lay several pieces. Hopefully I didn't confuse you. If you were unsure, just wait a moment. Okay, so I've got score tape on one side here. I'm going to remove my score tape. Now, I'm going to fold it. The score tape's back there. The crease is there. And all I'm going to do is bring it right up to the crease here. Let me see if I can zoom in just a little. You can see right there. It's not going to go on that crease. It's just going to go right like that. Okay? Now, let's get these two together. All I'm going to do is just place a little bit of glue over here. And I'm going to mount these like this. Okay, this is going to place like this. When we close this, it's going to close. Like so. Alright, and we do have to shift this over just a little bit. And again, you're going to have to play with yours to make sure that when you close it, and you're not sticking too far out the side. So at this point, I'm going to go for it. And I am going to use glue in case I need to reposition this. It's time to back out. Okay, I found my spot right here. Now notice that the train is going to be partially covered up. And that's okay. When I close this, it's going to close. When I pull this up, it's going to have a little bit of an overhang, but not so much that it's going to mess me up. When I open it back up, it's going to fling out. This is where we grab this. Okay, it goes right like this. And all I'm going to do is just put a little bit of glue. And mount that like this. So this can now fold out. Like so. In your reserves, you will find this sheet on the back should look like this. Let's go ahead and measure over 3 5/8 and cut it, and then we're going to measure over again 3 5/8 and cut it. This is what you should have. You can double these up now, and what you're going to do is measure over 5 inches and cut that. And this is what you should have. So all we're going to do here is glue these down. Now before you start gluing, make sure you're going to fit in both of these. Mine will fit perfect here and here. So let's glue these down. And glue that one down. In your reserves, you will find this. Measure over 1 1/2 inches and cut it. All we're going to do here is just fold this over in half. And let's ink around the edges. This is where you should be. Fold that back and just lightly hit it down the middle. So now you've got this, like a little book. Okay, all we need to do is add some glue right there on the spine of it. And I'd like to bend mine a little. Just glue that down like this. And there's your little book. Okay, let's get into our resin embellishments. And we're going to pull out the small butterfly and the medium size. Let's grab this back out of reserves. And all we're going to do is cut. And let's start off with about, measuring over 3/8 of an inch and cut it. Now, you don't have to be exact because we may have some trimming. I'm just going to hand do mine it. Okay, let's start off by now cutting this in half. Go ahead and fold it. okay? The idea behind this is to be able to have a thin enough piece to hide behind the small butterfly. Now the small butterfly does not have antennas, the other one does. So this is where all we're going to do is put a little glue. The crease is facing this to the left. Okay, and I'm just gonna put that right on behind there, trying to cover it up. And I think I'll try a little glue on this part. And this is going to take a moment to dry. So we're just going to put that right on down, making sure so that it does create a 3D effect. Now you should be able to still close this and open it. And there's your butterfly. And he's kind of popped up a little bit. Okay. Now with this one, we're going to use, because he's a little bigger, we are going to just cut another piece off this. And I'm just going to eyeball this. I think this is about a 1/2 inch or so. And I'm going to cut that in half. Fold it. And again, the crease is heading this way. Before you glue him down, it takes a moment for it to dry on the resin. Just make sure that the tab is hidden below. Place that back behind there. Now, remember, the glue does have to set with this, so, and we are just going to set him right here. I'm going to push him down to get it started, and he will need to dry, so I'm going to give it a moment to dry. And then we'll check the mechanisms here. Should still be able to fold, and we can. This page is complete. Let's go ahead and close it up. And let's move on to page 5 and 6. Page 5. In your paper collection, you will find this sheet. Measure on over 6 inches and cut it. Put this one in your reserves. Let's go ahead and measure over 8 inches and cut it. Go ahead and put your other piece in reserves. All we have to do with this is flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 short ones here, and let's mount that in our book. Let's move on to page 6. In your reserves, let's grab this, measure over 8 inches and cut it. Grab a piece of cardstock and measure over 6 inches and cut it. Now in your reserves you will have 2 of these. Let's use the one that is the wings are over in the bottom left hand corner. Stick this off to the side. Now we're going to go ahead and trim off 1/8 of an inch from this side. After you've done that, let's make sure that we're going to fit going across, and what it's going to leave you with is a little bit of black on either side. If that is the case, you're good. Set this off to the side. Now let's trim this down. Measure over 5 inches and cut it. Let's add some glue to the back of this, and then we'll get our scoreboard out. And when we mount this, we're going to bring it all the way to the top, leaving a 1/16 of an inch of black showing on the top, the sides, like so. Let's grab our scoreboard. Placing this down like so, we're going to measure over 1/16 of an inch and score it. And I need to use this to help me line up with where I'm supposed to be, because mine does not have that notch. And then from that part, we're going to, from that first score line, measure over 1/16 of an inch to the right of that. And I'm going to eyeball mine. And we're just going to flip it over and go like this. Pull back our flaps. In your reserves, you will find this piece on the back. It looks like this. We're going to measure in about 1/8 of an inch on this side and trim this. In your reserves, grab a piece of black cardstock. What we're looking for, because we will be trimming this up, but what we're looking for is a piece that is going to be wide enough to go past the edges of this so that we have some flaps for our pocket. Once you locate that piece, in your Regal Borders and Die set, you will find this die. And all we're going to do is place it at the top, making sure, and we're going to center it in between side to side, and we're going to run that through the die cutter. Once you've done that, let's just go ahead and cut straight in. Whoops. I'm a little off. To release that top, trying to keep it even as possible on both sides. Now from the top, the tip here, and I think from the tip here, the highest point, measure over 1 inch and cut it. In your reserves, you will find this piece on the back. It looks like this. Measure over 5 7/8 of an inch and cut it. In your Regal Borders and Pockets die pack, you will find the die plate that matches up to this one. And this is it. We're just going to slide that all the way to the top there, centered, and run that through the die cutter. Okay. The piece that came off of here, you will keep that. First things first though, let's get this mounted on here. Let's grab a little bit of score tape and place that down. And we're going to bring that on down. Pull back our flaps and let's tack that down. Now we're going to glue this down, but we're going to bring that all the way up so that there will be a little bit of a black space down here. That's where this comes into play. Whoops, I put glue on the wrong side. Shame on me. That's not good. Well, I'll just have to fix that. Wait for that glue to dry before I do anything else. So we're just going to bring that right on up, like so. I'm all sticky. See, I make mistakes too. This piece here just gets glued down just like that with the green showing. And all you need to do is just place a little bit of glue there. That's the easiest. Okay, looking at it like this, the flaps are at the bottom. Now flip it down and let's glue that down. So this is what you should have here. Stick this off to the side. Grab this one, grab a piece of cardstock, measure over 6 inches and cut it. In your Regal Borders and Die, you will find this. We used it before. We're going to use this one that actually fits with this. All we're going to do is bring it to the top and center it between the sides there. Whoops, first this plate goes down first. Put that down. My bad. And we're going to just place that right like that. Now we're going to run that through the die cutter. Let's get our scoreboard out here. At 1 7/8 of an inch. Actually, let's make this easy. We're going to have two score lines. One's at 1 7/8 of an inch. I'm going to make a mark. The second one is at 11/16 of an inch. So let's go ahead. I'm going to line mine up. I'm going to fold back here. Okay, we do need to trim off 1/8 of an inch from this so that it fits across nicely. And we may have already trimmed this, I can't remember. But anyway, all we're looking to do here is place it down and be able to have a 1/16 inch of black showing on either side. Okay, I did some trimming on mine. Now fold all your flaps back so you can't see them. Let's put this down. We're going to want a 1/16 of an inch showing of black on the top and on the sides. If that is what you're seeing, then let's go ahead and apply glue, and we're going to move that just like this and glue that down. Okay, I've got mine down. Now in your reserves, you will find this. We did use this for down here when we did that. However, we are going to go ahead and measure over to 5 7/8 of an inch and cut that. Then we're going to ink around the edges. Okay, all we're going to do with this is take a look first, and we will slightly overlap onto the bottom of this, like so. All we want to do is add a little strip of glue on each side and the bottom. And we are just going to place this right like this. Whoops. Making sure we're straight. So you have the option of putting something in there. So once this is assembled, it's going to be looking like this. We do have magnets, and one of the magnets is going to go right underneath here, and another one is going to go right up here, and then we cover it. So let's take a look at what we got going here to make sure we're all good. We do have a fold out still that goes underneath, but let's just take a look what we got. So this is what we will eventually have. Set that off to the side. Let's get what we need now. In your reserves, find a large piece of black cardstock. If you can't find it, you will cut a new piece. But this is 5 3/4 of an inch wide, and that's what we need to start with. Once you've located this scrap piece or cut a piece, that is the 5 3/4 inches wide, we're going to measure on over and cut this down to a 6 1/2 inch piece. So our final piece is 5 3/4 inch by 6 1/2. Let's get our scoreboard, and we are going to score at 5 inches and at 5 1/8 inch. And we'll fold on our score lines here. The flaps are going to be off to the right. Let's go ahead and attach this really quick. And all I'm going to do is just place it so you can still see some of the keys at the top. And once I've found that, I am just going to flip it over. Whoops, I'm stuck. And tack that down. And now I'm just going to move it back so it looks like this. In your reserves, you will find this sheet on the back. It looks like this. Measure over 4 7/8 of an inch and cut it. This should fit perfectly, just like this, leaving some black on the bottom, the top, and on the sides. This is what we're looking for. Let's go ahead and glue that down. In your reserves, you will find this. Let's go ahead and cut right down the middle between the two. Now, go ahead and place these behind each other and trim them so that they're both the same size. Okay, let's put these off to the side here. In your reserves, you should find two pieces that are identical. They are 4 7/8 inch wide. Let's double those up. Measure on over 5 3/8 and cut it. Let's check ourselves before we go any further. This should be able to fit nicely with a black border around, leaving us room to score and for additional fold outs. And we will want to check this one as well. And both of these are good. So what we're going to do is the easy way. Let's go ahead and grab this piece. Let's add some glue. And on this one, we're going to leave left over for scoring on the right. So we'll bring it over here and center the top, the bottom, and leave a little black there showing off to the left. I'm just going to do this the easy way. Some people hate all the measurements, so this is another way, especially if you're building an album on your own and designing it and hate to do the measuring part. It is tedious, that's for sure. On this one, we're going to bring it over to the right to leave flaps off to the left. And we're just going to center that on over. Let's go ahead and get our scoreboard out. Place it on there. And all you are going to do is score directly to the left of this and leave about a 1/16 of an inch. And then what you're going to do is measure over 1/16 of an inch from that. Line mine up here. And then we're going to fold. And then we're going to assemble this in just a moment. Grab this one. And we're going to do the same thing. However, you're going to measure over 1/8 of an inch on this side and score. So the idea behind this is this one is going to come over this way. This one comes over like this. Okay, we're not quite ready for that. Let's finish this one up. We have a nice pocket in here. Okay, what we are going to do on this particular one is grab this out of your paper pack. Measure over 4 3/4 of an inch and cut it. Put this one over in reserves. Let's just go ahead and flip that on over. Measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut it. Let's check our cut. You should be able to lay this down and have a nice black border around it. clearing your inner score there. In your reserves, find a piece of cardstock that is wide enough to get across. For example, this one is really wide, and I can trim off any excess there. This one is about 4 1/8 inch this way, so you should have this in your reserves. I am using the curved Spellbinders die, and these are the two that I'm going to use. I'm just going to center that and run that through my die cutter. Let's go ahead and release that top portion, cutting straight across the sides there. Let's go ahead and get our score tape. And you are going to center this, and you can clip off any excess flaps that are too big if you'd like to trim those down. I'm just going to leave mine alone. Okay, let's get our piece for right in here. In your reserves, you will find this. All we're going to do is just measure up what we're going to need. So instead of giving measurements, we're just going to mark that with a pencil, and we're going to trim that. So this should fit in there from side to side. Now all we're going to do is line this up like so, drag it down to where it needs to be, and now let's run that through our die cutter. Okay, all you have to do now is just place that right where it's supposed to be. Make a mark with your pencil and trim it to fit. And now let's apply glue and mount that. In your reserves, cut out a Grand Adventure and mount that onto black cardstock, leaving a little bit of black showing on the top and the bottom. Alrighty. Let's glue this down. Being sure to clear that inner score there, or the outer score line. Okay. In your wooden gear pack, let's go ahead and locate that. And what's going to happen is this is just going to place right like this. So let's glue this on down, and then we're going to place some glue here. That is how I have mine. Okay. Now let's finish up with these. So let's just flip these right on over. In your reserves, you will find this. Let's go ahead and cut a line between there and cut a line between there to get these two out. Before you do any gluing, what you are going to want to do is make sure that these are going to fit. And mine does. If you need to trim it, go ahead and trim it. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to trim mine a little bit on this side. Okay, it is safe to glue these down. First one we are going to do is this one, and you're just going to slide that on in there, pinch it, and tack that down. Oh, the scissors, they got a mind of its own. We will go ahead and do this one like so, pinch it, and tack that one down. Okay, the bottom one we are going to slip on first, and it just gets placed just like that. Making sure you're even there. Flip it over and tack that down. Okay. Let's get one of our magnets. And all we're going to do, and that should work as far as being able to reach. Let me give that a moment to dry. And that should be plenty enough, and it is. In your reserves, you should have this piece, and it should fit perfectly right in here. Let's glue that down. Once you got that glued down, we're going to attach this. And all we're going to do is line that up. Once we have where it's supposed to be, we're going to pinch that. Hold it down. If you feel it slip, you're going to have to grab it again. Now, if you don't have magnets, this page will still work. However, magnets is always best when you have so many flips and whatnot. So, okay, the mate to this magnet, go ahead and place on top of the other. If you place a single glue dot right in the middle, and if you ended up getting yours a little crooked, this is where you can correct it. All you're going to do is bring it down so that it lines up on the sides, press in the middle, now lift. You will see where that glue, the glue mark is, and where this magnet's supposed to go to be able to hook to the other. In your reserves, you will find this sheet. We want this gear right here. Now I'm going to show you an easy way to cut out rather than to go in and out to get that. All you want to do is first go around the edges, just like so. And you may already know how this, or it just cuts time from having to do that. Or okay, once you have it like this, what I've found the easiest is just clip in on one side, the other side, use your scissor tips and pull it back. It's really quick and easy. So you'll do that all the way around, and then we're going to ink around the edges really good. This is what mine looks like. Now if you did the little trick that I did, all I usually do is just put a little glue underneath there. And we're going to put glue in the middle. Okay, so they're all folded back, and we're just going to place that right on over that magnet. And we're going to let that dry. Okay, I think mine is dry now. So you should have this, and you should be able to open it and be like that. Okay, page 6 is complete. Score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 short ones on either side, and let's mount that in our book. Page 7 In your paper collection, you will find this, measure over 6 inches and cut. This one goes in reserves. Let's measure on over 8 inches and cut it. Place this off to the side. Let's get some cardstock out. Let's just cut this right down the middle. This is 11 inches across. Measure over 5.5 inches and cut it. Stick this off in reserves. We will be using this for page 8. In the Regal Borders and Die, this is the same dies that we were using before. We're just going to place this down, center it, make sure it's even, and run that through the die cutter. And actually, I'm going to put mine on my paper cutter so that I can keep a straight line. But we're going to cut in to release the top piece from each side. Let's grab our score tape, place it to the bottom of this page. And we're going to mount our pocket. And we're going to tack that down behind. Now you will have this die plate right here. And the little hump will go down, and all we're going to do is just place that right at the top. Now what we're going to want to do is just place your paper down first. You're going to fit from side to side, but just in case you're a little off, you are going to line up this with the bottom of this punch out here to make sure that you are going to fit and your curves are going to fit. Once you find that, let's go ahead and run that through the die cutter. And I am just going to come in from the sides on this, straight on in. And this should fit nicely with that curve. Okay, now one thing you're going to want to do is trim this just a hair if needed. Like when I place mine up here and I'm from side to side, if I move it over just a hair, I have about a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch to trim off from the side so that it will fit better. So I'm going to do that, and if you need to, do the same. If not, you're just going to glue that right on down. I've got mine glued down. In your reserves, you will find this strip on the back. It looks like this. We're going to measure over 6 inches and cut that right in half. This side is going to be for our next page. That same bracket we used before, we're going to do that on this. So I'm just going to place this down and move it on up. And I'm going to see where that curve is, just like with the other. And now I'm going to run that through my die cutter. Okay, let's ink around the edges, and then we're just going to glue that right on down, just like that. This is what you should have. In your timepieces, let's grab the larger one. All we're going to do is get a little bit on the bottom and the side. Whoops, wrong side, sorry. I'm turned around, and we're just going to place that just like that. So in the end, you should be able to just slide something right on in there. As soon as that's done drying, let's go ahead, flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 short ones, and mount that in our book. Page 8. Okay, in your reserves, you will have this sheet, you will have this, and we set aside this. So, what we're going to do is measure over 8 inches and cut it. This page is almost identical to page 7 of what we did, so I'm going to grab out my 3 die plates that I used before. And we're just going to do the same thing. Centering that, run it through our die cutter. Okay, let's see here. Let's go ahead and mount our pocket. tack our flaps around the back. Whoops. The next thing that we did was place this down and up, making sure that we line up with the curve. Run that through the die cutter. And then what we're going to do is the same thing with this. Once this has been die cut down, we will line that up with the curvature of that, and then we will be ready to trim up the bottom if needed. So, placing this down, I'm going to slightly move it over to where it needs to be. Mark with a pencil, trim that. Apply glue and glue that down. Then we're going to ink around the edges of this, apply glue, and place that. In your reserves, locate treasured moments, and let's cut that out, trimming off any white. We're going to ink around the edges. Once you've done that, cut a piece of cardstock that will allow 1/16 of an inch of black showing all the way around, and glue them together. Now, once you have those together, we are going to apply glue, and I'm just going to flip this over to one side like this, so the glue is on underneath this side and under here. And we're just going to put that right like that. This page is complete. Flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 short ones, and let's mount that in our book. Page 9 in your paper collection, you will find this sheet on the back. It's that. Measure over 6 inches and cut it. This one goes in reserves. Measure over 8 inches and cut it. So this is what you should have. What we're going to do with this piece, this is the extra piece, is we are going to measure over 4 1/4 inches and cut that. Let's turn that, measure over 3 1/2 inches and cut it. Let's ink around our edges. In your reserves, find a piece of cardstock that will allow you to glue this down, and then we can just trim a 1/16 of an inch to the right of this and to the bottom. Let's grab our pop-up squares, flip that on over, and start putting them around, and some in the middle. Let's go ahead and just mount that right here. In your reserves, let's go ahead and cut the train out. We're going to fussy cut around the train, and then we're going to ink around the edges really good. I've got mine cut out. I'm just going to flip that over, and I'm going to grab some of the smaller squares, 3D squares, and I'm going to line it just along the bottom. And I'm going to remove the sticky, and then what we're going to do is place that right like this. And I'll show you what that looks like. Now when I place this, the stickies are not going to be on this. They're going to be right underneath there, so that you can still mount a picture back behind. In your reserves, you will find this, and what we are looking to do is to cut this straight across right underneath this. Trim off the white if you have some showing, and let's ink around the edges. Also in your reserves, you will find this piece. What we're going to do is cut right below this. all the way across. You're also going to trim off the white if any's showing, and set this off to the side. Let's grab a piece of black cardstock. Measure over 7 inches and cut it. Now looking at it like this, measure over 6 inches and cut that. Okay, we are 7 inches wide, and we are going to glue this down, and we'll do this the easy way. And what we are going to do is bring it down to the lower right hand corner. We are going to leave about a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch of black showing over here and down here. Grab this piece, bring it all the way to the left, lining it up, and all we want to do at this point is mark it where it meets the edge of this, and we're just going to trim that. Let's go ahead and fussy cut underneath these all the way across, and then we're going to ink around the edges really good. Okay, once you've done that, the only places that we're going to apply glue is on the sides and the top. Now we are going to place this right up here. We're going to line it up. We are going to leave about the 1/16 or the 1/8 of an inch. As soon as you've got that where it's supposed to be, from the middle, place your fingers and pull out. What that's going to do is tighten it up so that you can put a layered picture mat or whatever underneath in there. So now let's grab our scoring board, place this down, and at about 1/16 of an inch to the left of this, we are going to score it, measure over from that score to the left about an 1/8 of an inch, I would say, and we're going to fold. And this is what you should look like. Let's go ahead and attach our fold out, and then we'll work on the inside. All we're going to do is bring that all the way to the top, pinch it, and tack down our flap. In your reserves, you are going to locate a few pieces. This one, and we want the back side. You will find a narrow piece that looks like this on the back, looks like those gears, and you will find this piece. Okay, if you flip this over and notice that we are going to be short, so we are going to do what we've done in the past to save paper. Grab a piece of scrap cardstock. Let's grab our score tape. We'll build on it. I'm just gonna, to try and keep me straight, I'm just gonna run that down as far as I think I need to be. I'm placing it here. Okay, let's first trim off this extra. Okay. Oh, I hear Lucy barking. Place this down to where you have about an 1/8 of an inch of black showing here. We want to make a pencil mark where this needs to fit. I'm using a pen, mark it, and trim it. This is what I have. Now this will fit in there. Let's get our side pocket ready. Okay, we're going to need a scrap piece that is long enough to wrap flaps on the bottom and the top back behind. Most importantly, we need to trim these to fit. So all I'm going to do is just place that right on up there, and I wish I could find my pencil. Make a mark, and then I'm going to trim that. And Let's see, which way do I want to go here? I'm going to leave this on here. I'm just going to bring that up. Of course, I'm going to trim off that white first, but I'm just going to do my thing right there, and then I'll be able to trim that. So let's get those ready to go. Okay, we're going to trim this up to fit our pocket, but let's go ahead and put glue on. If you'd like to ink around your edges first, go ahead. And all I'm going to do is center this so there's flaps, leaving a little bit of black showing, and then I'm going to glue that right next to it. Now all I have to do is trim. Get your score tape out and tack them down. Now all we have to do is glue that down. So let's do that. In your paper collection, you will find this piece. What we're going to do is cut out the trim piece with the hat. And while you're at it, go ahead and detach this with all the sentiments. In your reserves, you will find this piece. We're going to go ahead and cut off the white. Let's go ahead and measure over 7.5 inches and cut it. And on this one too, measure over 7.5 inches and cut it. Then what you're going to want to do is ink around the edges of that piece as well as the piece that we just cut out. Lay that down. We're going to apply glue to the back of this. And we're just going to place that right on down. In your reserves, you will find a piece of scrap cardstock that is at least 8.5 inches long, and that's what we need. So let's go ahead and just apply glue to this, and then we'll trim it up. And when you place this, you are going to place this towards the bottom, leaving a little bit of black showing off to the left and the bottom. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to trim right on down, and that will leave a little bit of black. Grab your scoreboard, and we are going to score about 1/16 of an inch over to the top of this. Then measure over 3/16, and I'm going to move mine, 3/16 and score again. What we're going to do is just hook that right on up here. And let's tack that down. Let's grab a magnet, and we're just going to flip that up and place that. I think you can see in the picture here. Right there. And let that dry for a moment. In your reserves, you will find this piece. We are looking to get this out, so let's go ahead and get that. Let's measure over 7.5 inches and cut it, ink around the edges, and that should place exactly in the inside. So this is what you should have. So this is what we need to do. Grab the mate to the magnet underneath there. Hold it straight, flip it over, and now you know where that needs to be. And we're going to let that dry before we do anything as far as lifting. Alright, we need to get the resin owl out, and he just places right in the middle. And there we have it. Now once this is dry, we are going to flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, 2 short ones, and we're going to mount this in our book.